Hello guys, hope you people are doing great and welcome to my channel as part of Microsoft SQL Server lessons. And I'm Lokesh and I'm working as software engineer. My technology stack SQL, Power BI and data science, and I'm also Microsoft certified professional on Power BI. Let's get started with today's session. So in today's session we will gonna cover constraints or integrities in SQL. So generally a brief introduction to constraints or integrities in SQL. So especially when we are storing the data into a table, we need to have certain constraints or integrities in order to maintain the integrity of the data, because sometimes you need to store particular information regarding to some restricted data, or you need to restrict some kind of data into table while you're inserting or while we are updating. Any kind of case if you take, we need certain restrictions on the table in order to obtain the business requirements. Okay, so in a brief words I can say constraints or nothing but which possess some kind of restrictions on the table. Okay, it may be a table level or it may be a column level as well. Okay, it may be, so you need to understand the constraints or integrities are generally used to restrict the data or putting some restrictions on the table level or column level in order to obtain the integrity of the data. The main objective of this constraints is nothing but to get or to obtain integrity or to provide integrity, or maybe not obtain, it may be provide integrity to the data that we are storing into a table. Okay, data. So in that case you need to study what are the different kind of integrities that SQL Server offers. Okay, so first integrity is not null constraint. What it will do, not null ensures that a column that cannot have a null value, which means, so generally if you create any kind of a table in that column level, if you didn't put any not null constraints in it, then obviously while inserting the data, if you didn't specify that particular column, then obviously it will take null value. Okay, we will see all those little details later on sessions, but all this is a brief introduction about what is a constraint and what constraint will perform what kind of operation. Okay, and second constraint is unique constraint. The name suggests unique, ensures that all values which are storing in a particular table at the column level which are completely different, no matches. Okay, and primary key, foreign key, check constraint, default. Okay, as I said, the primary key is a combination of not null and unique. Okay, we already discussed about not null and unique. Not null, which cannot have null values in the particular column, and unique, all the values in the particular column should be unique. The combination of this not null and unique which made a primary key. Okay, it is a combination. And foreign key is uniquely identifies a row or a record in a particular table with reference to the primary key. Okay, we will see all those details. Check constraints ensure that all values in a particular column satisfies a particular condition. Checking that condition itself, whether it is going to be fail or whether it is going to be allow that particular record into your data. Okay, into your table. And last one is default. Default, as the name suggests, the default, it will put some value in a particular column. Okay, no need to specify that particular value for each and every time. Once you set the default value, then every time whenever you insert the particular data into that particular table, especially for the particular column where the default constraint is having, stores some unique data, whatever we specify as a default. Okay, let's see one by one within examples. Okay, Adding a constraints while creating a table. As I mentioned before, we can specify the constraints at the table level or column level also, okay, but it is always better to have a constraints while creating a table, because once you create a table, then no need to every time you don't in a real time you don't need to go every time and change the table structure or the schema, whatever the way you want, okay. At the very beginning level of the database schema creations and table creations, they decide, the database engineers decides what kind of constraints that the table has to be fit for, okay. So once that particular constraint has designed with respect to the table, then it should be fixed, okay. So let's get started with the first constraint in our list is not null constraint. As I said, not null constraint, it will not accept nulls unless we specify, okay. So let's see one example. Suppose I would like to create a table student1 as a table name at some ID, name and age. See, for while creating a table, I haven't specified any not null constraint, okay. So I haven't specified any not null constraint, and purely it is just a column and a data type, what kind of data that particular column should accept, okay. Now I would like to insert some data in it, okay. Let's see what will happen if I insert like this. So before going to perform any kind of operations, first of all you make sure that you need to perform all kind of operations on your database, okay. But once you open your SSMS, Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, it obviously points to the default database master, okay. You need to change that one using use MySQL DB. In my case it is MySQL DB, but in your case it is your own DB, that whatever you created just before, okay. Right, so execute this one, Control E, okay, command complete successfully. Now you see it got shifted to MySQL DB from master DB, okay. Now you are free to do what kind of operations that you can willing to do, okay. So I would like to create a table student1, okay. Table is created. Let's check the table. Of course the table structure itself only we created, but we didn't insert any kind of data in it. But let's quickly have a look on that, what it has. Control E, okay. So this is the table that I have ID, name and age, okay. Now I would like to try to insert a particular record, insert into this table name. I would like to insert name and age only, and I don't want to insert the SID, okay. And one more thing, I didn't specify any identity property here as well, okay. If you miss my previous videos on identity property and how it works, then please go back and check out the video, and it's really good and very important as well, okay. If I didn't specify any identity property, let's say I would like to mention I didn't specify any identity property. So if I didn't specify any identity property, then I don't know what kind of values it will take here, okay. So let's see what kind of values it will take, okay. One row is affected, means it will not throw any kind of error. That's great. Now let's execute this one more time. You can see here I just passed name and age, Joker and 25 age, but even though I didn't specify anything, it accepts null, because while the table creation itself I didn't specify anything to this SID, whether it has to accept nulls or it shouldn't accept nulls. I didn't specify anything, and I didn't specify any identity property itself. If I specify identity property, then obviously it will generate some serial numbers here, okay, but I didn't specify anything. So here is the problem. If you if you create a table without any constraints or not null constraints, then obviously it will accept the nulls, and null values are obviously not a good values to, or not a good source of a good data. Okay, so in such a case, how to deal with such a kind of situations? So in such a kind of scenarios, you need to specify not null. Okay, so here is the thing. I create one more table, student, and where I have SID integer and not null. See, here I specified a constraint called not null. Now once I specify these kind of constraints, so it will perform the kind of operations which are designed for. Okay, now let's see what will happen if I create the student table. Create student table and just select the data from it in order to just check out the schema. Okay, so here is my structure, table structure, like we said before. Okay, now I would like to insert some data. Okay, here also I didn't specify any kind of identity property, but I specified a constraint which is not null. Okay, so I would like to insert a record, insert into the student table as name and age and values joker 25. Yeah, same values I would like to give. Okay, then let's see what will happens. Expected result, right? Cannot insert a value null into column SID table, and column does not allow nulls. Insertion fails. Okay, the statement has been terminated. What does it mean? You already mentioned that this particular column SID will not accept any kind of nulls. So but here you're trying to insert nulls. Okay, how can you try to insert nulls? Because you didn't specify any kind of name. Okay, here because you have 3 columns and you try to insert values in 2 columns only. So obviously the other column, as the default nature of the SQL Server, it will accept nulls. Okay, but you specify not null. So that is the reason why it restricts the data, right? If you see here, this is a table level constraint. At the entire table level, even though you have a good values in S name and age, it still restrict the data. I'm sorry. It still restrict the data in order to avoid this constraint level requirement. Okay, but the moment when you pass this SID as well, then it will accept, because you're not passing any null value, you're just passing a number, so obviously it will accept. Okay, let's check that record as well. Select select star from table name student. Okay, this is fine. Okay, so that is the use of not null constraint. Okay, so whenever you create a table, if you have to have specified this not null constraint for each and every column. Okay, because in some case, if you don't want to insert the particular column records, then it should not accept the nulls. Okay, so our next constraint is unique constraint. What it will do? Okay, so you can create a table called teacher where SID is integer, and it got not null constraint along with unique constraint as well. Okay, you can create here also you can create not null for every column. For every column you can give not null. It's not a big deal, you have to have give this not null. Okay, because in case of if you miss that particular column data, then it shouldn't take null value into consideration. So here I mentioned unique. Okay, which means the values which I supposed to pass into this column should be always unique. It will not accept any kind of duplicate records into this particular column. Okay, let's see that one into picture. I create a teacher table and I select the teacher table. Okay, I got ID, name and age. Okay. Now I would like to try to insert into teacher table where SID and as name and age values 1, joker and 25. Okay, let's see what will happen. Insert. Yeah, one row is affected. That's fine. Let's check the record. Okay. Okay, yes ID and yes name and age. Got it. Now what I'm gonna do, I would like to insert one more record with a different name, Tony, and his age is 26, but the value should be 1. Okay, I forgot that I have already 1 exist in the table, and I would like to try to insert this record. Okay, let's see what will happen if I try to insert the same record number. Okay, because I already have 1 in the table but I didn't see it, and I would like to insert a new record into that particular table, and let's see what will happen. See the message. Okay, every time when you got a error message, then try to read the error message completely one or more time, more than one time. It's not an issue, just try to read it, because most of the solutions you can come up with this kind of messages. Okay, it will tells you what kind of mistake that you have done. Violation of unique key constraint, EQ teacher, and cannot insert duplicate key in object tbo.teacher. The duplicate key value is this one. Okay, value is 1. So you cannot insert any kind of data into this SID because it specifies the unique as a constraint. Okay, so you cannot insert. So if you want to check where it is created, if you want to see whether you create a constraint on this teacher table or not, then you can check it from here. You can refresh the table once you got created. Go to your DB. In my case, it is MySQL DB, and go to tables here and go to teacher table here. Click on that. Go to constraints. Keys. Okay. You have a unique key, right? Here you mention unique key. So that unique key is, this is UQ, EQ teacher 2F something. Okay, you can just copy this one from here. You can paste it over here. So this is your key. Okay, so once you create this table, obviously based on the key that you specified, based on the constraint that you specified on the table column itself, it will obviously create either keys, because generally these unique key, primary key, foreign key, all those are keys. While coming to constraints, check constraint, not null constraint, all these are different kind of constraints. It will store here. Okay, we will see all those constraint details as well once we're done with this. Okay, now you know that once you create the keys, obviously this table itself generated keys. But now I would like to insert this particular record. I want to insert this particular duplication record into this. Now how can I do that? If you want to do that, then you need to drop this constraint first. Once you drop this constraint, so then only you can insert this particular record into this teacher table. Okay, so how can you drop this constraint? You can just simply alter table, table name. What kind of table that you want to alter? Teacher, right? Alter table, table name teacher, drop constraint, constraint name. This is your constraint, right? You can just you can paste here, drop constraint name. If you execute this query, then obviously it will drop this constraint, and there is no more constraint on this particular SID, means there is no more restrictions on this particular column. Now you can insert this data. Okay, perfectly. Let's try it out. What's wrong? Okay, now you don't have any unique key. Okay, you saw this one, right? Now once I refresh this table, because I already executed this query, then you will not able to see this unique key anymore. Just refresh. Okay, keys gone. This key has gone. Okay, because we already dropped this constraint. Okay. Okay, that is the use of dropping constraint, creating constraint, and restricting the data. Okay, our next constraint is check constraint. How can you specify the check constraint? Okay, so I would like to create a table called school table, where I have SID, where I prefer not null constraint in every column. That's not a big deal. Okay, that's mandatory as well. And if you carefully observe at the age column, which has a data type integer, and here I mentioned check age is greater than 5. Okay, what is the meaning of it? While creating a table, if suppose anyone want to insert the data, then ID, name, I didn't mention any kind of conditions, but I just place a not null as a constraint. Okay, because it will not accept null values, that is okay. But for age, I am not accepting the age which is below 5. I am just accepting the age which is greater than 5 by mentioning the check constraint. Here I mentioned check this age column, accept all the values if it is this age number greater than 5. Other than that, just restrict the table. Okay, just restrict the data into this particular table, school table. Okay, of course it's not good to join the kids below 5 years of age into the school. Okay, that's my new guidelines. Okay, let's see quickly. Create this table. Okay, and select this one, school. Okay, you see the structure, it got structure because we don't have any data yet. Okay, now I would like to insert into school some data, ID, name, and age. Just take care about the age. Okay, serial number is 1, name is Joker, and age is 5. I just give the 5. Okay, let's see what will happen. See, insert statement conflicted with the check constraint ck underscore school underscore age underscore this number. Okay, which means ck represents the check constraint, c and k. Okay, check constraint underscore which table, school table, underscore which column, age column, and the ID of that particular one is this one. Okay, so what you need to do, you can check this one, go to schools table. You haven't found the schools table yet, so just refresh the tables and you will see school. Here it is. Okay, school, go to school and go to constraints. Here it is, check constraint. You have this check constraint on this. Okay, now I would like to give another record which is the same record, but the age is 6. Now the condition satisfies. Okay, here it is not 5 years. I want the age should be greater than 5, but here in this case it is 5. So this particular record declined. Okay, now I would like to insert this record, and obviously it will accept. See, so now my check constraint is perfectly working fine. Okay, now check for the data. Yes, I have one record which is as name and age is 6. Okay, that is the use of check constraint. If you don't want this check constraint, you can drop this check constraint. How to drop a check constraint? Of course, any kind of constraint is the same way. First of all, you need to alter the table. Alter table, table name is school. In dropping constraint, drop constraint and your constraint name. Okay, you can drop like that. Control E. Okay, you dropped the constraint. If you have any doubts, then just refresh this table and check for the constraints. Gone, it's gone. Okay, that's good. And next one is default constraint. Okay, the name suggests what is default. Default means I don't want to insert the particular value each and every time. I just want to mention one time, single time while creating a table, and that's it. I will not think about that particular column again. Okay, the whatever the value that is specified as a default value, then it should, this default constraint will take care of that particular column. Okay, let's see here. Create a table hospital where serial number is not null, s name is not null, age is not null, date data type not null. Here it is, default. Here I am mentioning default constraint, default, and get date. That default must be get date. If you missed my previous videos on get date, I mean the date functions, okay, I already done a very good videos on the system defined functions. So this get date is nothing but a date time functions. Okay, if you missed that video, then please do check that video, and you'll come to know what this get date do. Get date obviously give the current timestamp of the day. Okay, I created this default constraint while creating a table, and now let's see what will happen if we insert the records. Okay, I created the table with a default constraint, and I can check for the table. Okay, I have SID as name and age. Okay, so how to see the table information? It is a special store procedure, ESP help, and the single quotes you have to give the table name. Okay, hospital. If you give your table name, then it will give you all the information. Okay, what is the table, who is the owner, and what is the type of it. Okay, is there identity properties there or not? It will give you all kind of information. Okay, you don't have any identity property, data located primary, and you see here constraint type. What are the different kind of constraints it has? It has default constraint. Okay, on which column? Default constraint. This is the constraint name, hospital table, date column, and this is the one. Okay, so entire information regarding to the table and what kind of data types it offers. Okay, and how many, is there any identity properties there, or is there any constraints are there? All kind of informations can be get by using this sp_help condition. Okay, this is used to know the table information, table info. Okay, table info. Okay, table information, to get table information. Okay, now I would like to insert one particular record into this hospital table. Okay, if you observe here, I just mentioned the ID and name and age. That's it. I didn't worried about this date. If you didn't worry about date, then what will happen? Obviously this constraint will take care of this particular column, and every time a record is going to insert into this particular table hospital, then this default constraint will drop a current date into this particular date column. Okay, let's see that one with this insertion record. Control E, one row affected, Control R, and check for the table. Select star from table name, hospital. Okay, see, I didn't supply any date to my table. I didn't supply either. If you see my insert query, I didn't supply any date, but it obviously take care of this current date. Okay, because of this default constraint. Okay, so hope you understand the constraint as of now. We will see primary key and foreign key a bit later, but as of now we covered the different type of constraint, which are single straightforward constraints. Okay, not null constraint, you see, and unique constraint, check constraint, and default constraint. Okay, obviously you haven't seen this default constraint, right? Okay, let's try to see the default constraint as well, which is what table it is. It is a hospital table. Okay, in hospital table, as of now I didn't drop this constraint, so obviously I will have this constraint. Constraints. Okay, see, df means default constraint. On which table? Hospital table. On which column? Date column, and this is the unique ID representation. Okay, this is the key for that one. Okay, Control C for copying it. If you want to drop that one, okay, you know the statement, alter table, table name hospital, table name, oh why hospital, okay, drop constraint, constraint name default constraint, okay, you can drop it, control E. Okay, now the very most important constraints are primary key and foreign key constraint. Okay, primary key and foreign key, these two are very important while you creating a table. So if you want to create in real world, if you want to create a table and maintain a relationship between them, then you have to have specified this primary key and foreign key. Okay, basically to put it into a very basic words, the primary key is always related to the master table, and foreign key is always related to the child table. Okay, that way you can specify. I would say this is the child table, and this one is a master table or a parent table. Okay, you can say that parent table. The reason why I mentioned this one is a parent table, because the particular table which holds the primary key acts like a parent table, and the particular table which holds the foreign key acts like a child table. Okay, and we will see what will happens with all these things with this primary key and foreign key. Okay, so like I said, mentioned before, the primary key works on the basis of unique key plus not null. Means once you create a primary key, obviously this primary key is equal to the two constraints. One is not null, and which will not accept the null values into the record into your tables, and the second one is unique. Unique means unique constraints will always accept the unique records into your table. Okay, there is no duplication. When you mention, whenever you have to mention the unique, then it should be plain unique data. There is no duplication. Okay, so let's see what will happen and how to create that one. So create a table, mall table, this is a parent table. So we have a ID, integer data type, and primary key. So here is the way you have to mention the primary key here. Okay, and sname is watcher data type and not null, age is not null, date I set to default constraint. Okay, so as of now everything is fine. You can create a table. Okay, I created a table, and just checking for the table structure. Okay, table structure is also fine. Okay, now I would like to insert one record, which is ID, name and age, because I don't care about the date. Okay, just before we saw how the default constraint will behave. Okay, now I would like to insert this particular record. Okay, let's see what will happen. One row affected, that's great, and check out that particular record. Okay, great. Now I would like to add one more record, and let's see what will happen. Okay, control E. See, violation of primary key constraint. Okay, this key. What is the violation here? The violation here is, as I mentioned before, primary key is a combination of unique plus not null. Okay, what we are doing here, we are not supplying any null values, so not null constraint is not worried about it, but unique constraint is the one who has to worry about it here, because I already have a record which is the number 1 in my table, mall table. Okay, but again I'm trying to insert the same number, means I would like to duplicate this SID column. Okay, because as it has the primary key, it will not do that. Okay, Now I can insert this record because it got 2, as I mentioned, is a combination of unique key and not null, so it is a unique value, so it accepts. Okay, Control E, see, it got accepted. Where is this primary key is created? If you want to see this primary key, go to the mall table. Where is the mall? Yeah, once you create a table, just go for a refresh. Give a refresh shot and check for the mall table. Yes, here it is. Go to the mall, expand it, and go to the keys. See, here you have a lock symbol, keychain symbol, right? This is a key. It is a primary key on mall table. Okay. Okay. Now this, okay, delete this particular record. If you want to, you want to maintain only one record, then delete the 2, or else it is fine. Okay. Okay, I have 2 records here in mall table. Then fine. Okay, I would like to delete this particular record. Okay, now I have only 1 record in it. Okay, let's see what will happen with the foreign key. Okay, the foreign key table, it is a child table. Okay, in this child table, what I am doing is create a table market where ID is an integer and it got a foreign key, and this foreign key is references to it. This foreign key is references to the mall table in SID. Okay, because we have created the primary key on mall table on this particular column, SID. Okay, if you see here we created the primary key. Okay, now I want to maintain this market table in ID column as a foreign key, and which references to this small table, this SID. Okay, now what will happen if I want to drop any kind of record from the parent table, mall table, then my child shouldn't accept that. Okay, in that way we are providing the security to our data. Okay, especially when we are maintaining a parent table and child table depending on a business logics, then this kind of foreign key primary key relations are very helpful. Okay, let's see with an example, then you will understand that one. Create market table. Okay, and select the market table just to see the data. Yes, I have ID and the name and age and date. Okay, now insert into record into it. Record, insert into market table, ID, name, age. Okay, I inserted this one. Okay, then fine. If you try to insert any kind of duplication record into this particular table, it will accept. Okay, no problem for that. Okay, you can check for that. Okay, go to here and execute this query. See, foreign key, there is no objection. In foreign key table, you can insert the duplicate record on that particular foreign key column. There is no restrictions. Okay, but just delete that particular record where ID is equal to 1. Okay, and insert this one record. Okay, now in market table, it is a child table, you have only 1 record. Okay, now try to delete the record from mall table. If you can see here, just have a look. Select the star from mall. Mall is a parent table. Okay, you already know that it is a parent table, and select the star from market. It is a child table. Okay, so just check out the records. Okay, so this is the parent table. This record is belongs to parent table, and this record is belongs to the child table. Okay, now I would like to delete a particular record, this particular record from this small table where SID is equal to 1. Okay. If I try to do that, then what will happen? Obviously now you cannot, because it is reference to the child table in the foreign key. Okay. You already mentioned that this small table's key, which is SID, obviously it is referencing to this one, right? This ID is referencing to this one. So you cannot drop the parent table data unless otherwise it is not there into this child table, because you have a common data. You have a common data in both the parent table and child table, so you cannot drop the parent table data alone. Okay, let's try to give a shot. You see, the delete statement is conflicted with the reference constraint foreign key, which is done on a market table on ID column. Okay, that is the reason why you will face the conflict. So in order to do that, what you have to do, you can't update it because you cannot update as well. If you try to update the record as well, you cannot update because of this constraint, foreign key constraint. Okay, you cannot update, you cannot delete. Okay, now if you want to update that particular records, or if you want to drop that particular records, what you have to do is, in order to update and delete the records in the parent table, which has a common data in child table as well, we need to add these two cascades: on update cascade, on delete cascade at the child level table. Okay, these two things are applicable at the child table. If you done these two things at the child table, then obviously the child table will allows you to drop or update the particular records, okay, which are referencing to the parent table. So in order to do that, first of all you need to drop the foreign key. So in my case, what is the foreign key? Foreign key market table, where it is? Okay, you need to refresh the tables. Refresh. Here is the market table and I have keys. Yes, I have a foreign key. Okay, so copy this foreign key and you should drop this foreign key first. Okay, I dropped the foreign key. Okay, now you cannot able to see the keys. Okay, just refresh this one and you cannot see any kind of, because we already dropped that one. Okay, now I would like to add a foreign key to my table. Okay, so this is the way to alter a particular table and adding a constraint. Alter table market, the market is my child table. Okay, so please don't forget that this is a child table. Child table, child table. So I'm just adding the constraint and constraint name. Okay, foreign key on ID column, this is the name. Foreign key on ID, references to which table? This is parent table, references to parent table, and in that parent table the column as well, column name, parent table and column name. Here my parent table is mall and the column name is SID. On delete cascade, on update cascade, I'm just forcing to these two conditions on my child table. Now my child table will not restrict any kind of conditions on the parent table while we are doing with any kind of updations or any kind of deletions. Okay, I executed this command. So like a statement, now you can able to update and delete the parent table records. Okay, now select the parent table. Okay, now you try to update the mall table, set SID is 10 where SID is 1. As of now you have the SID is 1. Now try to update that one. Previously if you try to execute this statement, it was thrown an error as a conflict with a foreign key, right? Now there is no conflict with a foreign key. You can update or you can delete the record whatever you have here. Let's check the record. Yeah, you have a record with SID 10, right? Now I would like to delete that particular record. Obviously you will not see any kind of conflict, because of the only reason you have mentioned with the on delete cascade and on update cascade with the child table. So there is no objections with this updations and deletions on the parent table. Okay, so of course you know how to drop a constraint, alter table, table name, drop that constraint, whatever you have on that one. Okay, let's see, we have any constraint on mol, and let's drop that one. Mol, just refresh. Any kind of constraints it has? Yeah, you have df means default constraint. Default constraint on mol table on date column. Okay, if you would like to drop that column, then you can, that particular name itself you have to paste it here. Alter table mol, it's a parent table, drop constraint, constraint name. Okay, you can drop it. Here is we go. So that's all from my end on this today's video. So I hope this part of session is very really important, because the constraints or integrities in SQL Server are really helpful while creating a table in order to restrict the data, and be well versed with all these kind of constraints, especially the primary key and foreign key constraints, while designing a tables at the relational level, and all these not null, unique constraints, and check constraint and default constraint as well, when you need a business requirement. Sometimes you need to have a business requirement with the check constraint. Okay, because if you have a finance data, or if you have any banking data, then you have certain restrictions on the age column, or the person is alive or not, some kind of information you need to go for a checking. Okay, so for that case, or maybe sometimes you need to use default as a constraint. Okay, majority of the columns have sometimes default, sometimes check. Of course, not null is the particular constraint you have to use for every other column, each column in the table. Okay, because this is the very basic constraints which prevails all the time at the first, not null constraints. Okay, so I'm just giving this my script and the SQL questions in the description down below at the end of the video, and you can check out. Okay, because I'm just giving from my very first beginning video all these two things. One is my working script, and this SQL Server documentations on the questions, all the interview questions and the concepts in the very deeply explained in this document as well. So you can check out and read it, and you have to have get a good knowledge on the SQL Server. Okay, so that's it from my side, and hope you people enjoy this video, and please do subscribe to my channel, and I will come up with another video future, and stay tuned. Thank you.